frustrating things. And last time I said it, I got a lot of flack for it, but it doesn't really bother me too much. There are a lot of role models. There just aren't a lot of good ones, and that is to me what's so frustrating because. You have in today's society, so many famous athletes in baseball and basketball and football and golf and everything, every sport there is. And if we come together and be great role models, it would be amazing to see how the next generation turns out.
Amen. I was watching, I guess it was one of the NBA shows, and I heard Charles Barkley kind of going off about the fact that he wasn't no role model, and he got tired of everybody saying he was a role model. And I just wanted to say, Charles, you are one. You're a role model. You're just not the one we want to follow. That's the problem. And that's why we're so happy that God has given you to us as someone we can look to. And hey, by the way, speaking of the NBA, I'm watching the playoffs this year, and I see Paul Pierce Tebowing. I'm thinking, boy, Tim has really reached down and really touching everybody. Where did all this Tebowing come from?
To be honest, I have no idea. I have no idea how it started, because what's so funny is for the last 7 years, since my senior year in high school, I've had the same routine, getting on knee before my games, after the games, just praying, not because anybody would see, but that's a time for me to try to humble myself before I go and I play a game. And it's just so funny. Somehow this year, someone came up with the name Tebowing, and then other people started to do it, and then I would get sacked, and the person who sacked me is getting down and Tebowing, and I'm like, wait, is that mocking me or praising me? I wasn't sure, and I was like, well, I guess it's a good thing if he's really praying, but it was just crazy how it just took off, and people started to talk about it, and you would see it from the Oscars to the Grammys, and the one thing that you think about is, well, most of the people that do it aren't really praying, but at least it's being talked about. At least prayer is being talked about. At least getting on a knee is being talked about. And I think it's a good
thing. We had this really great little time together last night talking about what it takes to be a champion. And you know what? I wished I'd been about 50 years younger. I'd be in the gym today because what you shared with us was so impactful to all of us that heard it. It's really about how there isn't any magic to being good. Everybody thinks there's a secret sauce to being a champion, and you kind of took all that away. So why don't you kind of share with that a little bit about that and what it takes to really to rise above the pack and be a champion?
Well, I was just talking with his grandsons who are young athletes and want to make it to the next level, and I was just sharing with them that just talking to them about just my path, and they're asking questions, and I was telling them, they said, well, isn't it all about talent? I said, it's not all about talent. Yes, that has a lot to do with it when God touches you when you're in your mother's womb, and some people are born to run 4.3s, and some people never want to run a 4.3, but a lot of it has to do with how you train, with your work ethic, with your character, with your integrity. And one of my favorite quotes that I was sharing with them is, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work as hard. And I also shared another quote with him that somewhere he is out there training while I am not, and when we meet, he will win. And I was sharing those quotes with them to try to inspire them that it's not all about talent, that hard work cannot beat talent when talent doesn't work as hard. And you can go out there and you can train and you can push yourself and you can accomplish a lot of things by having a great attitude, by having a great work ethic, and by having the three things that I was sharing earlier, by loving what you do, by being passionate, and being willing to sacrifice more than anybody else.
Amen. Hey, Tim. You guys, listen up, guys. If you want to be real, you really feel bad about yourself and be intimidated, this is the moment. Tell them how many push-ups and how many sit-ups you do every day. Come on, you got to tell them. I'm going to tell them if you don't.
I was sharing with the story of when I was young, how I didn't really understand the concept of rest, but my dad wouldn't let me lift weights up to a certain age, and so he'd just say, you do as many push-ups and sit-ups as you want, and that'll be fine. And so every day for a whole summer, I would do 400 push-ups and 400 sit-ups every day. just because that was my dream, and I thought, okay, push-ups make you better at football, and that's what I want to do. And so I just do them. That was my concept when I was 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, and I was driven to want to be a college quarterback, to want to be an NFL quarterback, and I'm still driven. I still have that chip on my shoulder.
One of my favorite people in all the years I've been in San Diego is a guy named Gil Bird who played here for a while. He was a Christian, and one time he told me this little thing that was a motivating factor in his life. He said, I run every morning at 5 o'clock. I run the hills and the steps and everything. And he said, every morning when I'm running, he said, I keep saying this, my competitors are in bed. My competitors are in bed. My competitors are in bed. And so what you're saying is, you just have to work harder, and there is a truth to that, We were talking about some of the athletes in the NFL who really are gifted, but will never be great because they just live in their talent and they never take it any further.
And I think that's one of the huge things and the huge responsibilities that we're given as athletes is, God has given you this talent. Am I going to turn around and give it back to Him the same as He gave it, or am I going to make it better? Am I going to make it more? Am I going to improve? Am I going to work hard and do something with the talents that God gave me? Because He's all given us talents. Every single one of us, He's given us some sort of talent. Are we going to just go and bury that talent? Or are we going to make more? Are we going to produce with it? Are we going to do something good with it? And I think that's a challenge to myself, but that's a challenge to all of us. And whatever God has given you, whatever platform He has given you, we all have an opportunity to do something with the talents that God has given us.
I think the way some people have said that is like this. Your talent is God's gift to you, and what you do with it is your gift back to God.
Absolutely.
And I want to tell you something. We've all been noticing you've been giving back to God really well. We're grateful for that. Right.